Merry Saturnalia Day, man. Woo, and I got you a gift. But before we get into what I got you, tell a friend to tell a friend, man. Hebron Ben Bilal is back with those chronicles again. Saying what you would love to say, but you're just too PC to say it, man. Hey, man, y'all see the thing on the screen, man. The Backyard Chronicles, man. Go to it. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bells for notifications. Give me thumbs up on these videos, man. I know y'all loving them. Like, subscribe, do it all. Pass it along, man. Tell your friends to sign up for it. We're informative. We're anecdotal. We get into some stuff, man. You already see that. Also, man, if you have not gotten your copy of The Three Woes, man, go out and get it today. The Three Woes by Hebron Ben Bilal, Book 1. This is the book one of a 2-volume series. Every Israelite should have this, man. Take it to your synagogue, take it to your temple, take it to wherever you worship at, man. Pass it around. It shows the true redemptive nature of Yahweh, man. How he took a man that was just knee-deep in the streets and in debauchery, cleaned him up, made him a whole new individual, man. Get the book, man. Read it. Read it. Study it. Women, all of y'all should have it. All of y'all should have it. And passing it along to your children. But man, without further ado, I just want to unveil this gift that I got for you today, man. For all of you who are celebrating Saturnalia, and for those who aren't, this gift is for you. It is the gift of knowledge and information. The gift of knowledge, and not just any knowledge and information, but the white man's knowledge and information. Because I know a lot of you, man, be honest, a lot of you don't listen to. So no matter how true, profound, or powerful the information and knowledge is, you always. So what I did today was went in the archives and said, man, I got to get them a gift, man, on this great Saturnalia Day. So I went in the archives and I pulled up an old lesson that I did on Saturnalia. And now that I have the split screen capability, I said, man, because I kept telling y'all, go to the link in the description below and watch this and this and this. And a lot of y'all was like, man, I ain't going through all that. So we have it here, the white man's information, the white man's knowledge, and the white man is power. So without further ado, allow me to give you your gift.
Look, I know we're not that religious, but Mom and Dad made it a tradition. It's the one night a year we get together and have a nice, somber, Christian-y evening.
Well, that's pretty weird, because historically, Christmas was actually a really raucous holiday, and most of our Christmas traditions have really unchristian origins. Here, I'll show you.
Ugh, animated? Really? I don't have time for this. But I always did relate to Peppermint Patty, Chuck.
The real story of the holiday season starts over 2,000 years ago, during the Roman Empire. In December, Romans celebrated a holiday called Saturnalia to mark the end of the harvest. It was a wild party involving gambling, singing, and even cross-dressing. And in Northern Europe, a drunken festival called Yule celebrated the birth of the sun. Families would burn the biggest log they could find and celebrate around evergreen trees to ward off winter depression.
I hate to burst your bubble, Chuck, but this has nothing to do with Christmas. December 25th is still Jesus' birthday.
Actually, no one really knows for certain when Jesus was born. But we do know that when Christianity took hold of Europe in the 5th century, some common folk refused to part with these pagan parties. So Christian leaders gradually transformed these popular traditions into a celebration of Jesus' birth.
Hey, you pagan freaks! My God was probably born today. This party's about Jesus now, okay?
Whatever, dude. It's turned up in this forest.
Inserting Christ into these winter festivals was basically a civic compromise. Make the party about Jesus, and you can keep getting jiggy with it.
Well, Chuck, sounds like that's when Christmas became the nice family-friendly holiday we know today.
Nope. It stayed a debauched, violent booze fest for a long time. For over 1,000 years, Christmas was more like a terrifying Mardi Gras. In England, drunken mobs would take over the streets, and a beggar would be crowned the Lord of Misrule.
I declare, all crime is legal. It's purge time, baby!
The mobs would bang on rich people's doors and demand to be served the best food and drink they had. And if they refused, they were threatened with Christmas violence.
Give me booze or I'll smash your face!
This actually looks kind of fun, Chuck.
I agree, but it certainly wasn't very Christian, which is why when Puritans came to America, they decided Christmas had no place in a Christian nation and banned it.
What? Christmas was illegal?
Yep. In some communities, if you exhibited Christmas spirit, you were even forced to pay a fine.
Rosy cheeks, jolly smile. Your fine is 5 shillings. 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and now I have to pay the fine too.
Thanks to the legacy of these rules, Christmas ended up pretty unpopular in America. But all that changed in the 19th century. As immigrants flooded into America, they brought with them a love of Christmas and their own traditions. These seeped into the popular culture, and a new American Christmas began to take hold. And now, we treat Christmas like it's always been a sacred Christian celebration. But the historical truth is, these winter festivities have pagan roots with drunken traditions that a lot of Christians straight up hated for like 1,000 years. Now look, celebrating Christmas as the birth of Jesus is a wonderful tradition, but it's just as historically accurate to get drunk in the woods or bang on a rich person's door and threaten them with violence. So instead of worrying that Christmas isn't Christian anymore, why don't we just let people celebrate the way they want?
All right, man. Before I jump into this and take a deep dive into this thing, I want to point out 3 things about that video. First, remember they talked about the Lord of Misrule, that they would go out and get a beggar. See, they didn't really take a deep dive in it. They just gave you a superficial glossing over just to show you the origins of this religious observance. So what they would do is they would select this guy, call him the Lord of Misrule, and they would feed him and take care of him for this entire week. Now, there was 2 things that the Lord of Misrule said on that cartoon. The first thing was, he said, all crime is legal. The courthouses are closed. All crimes are legal. Let's purge. First thing you got to understand about the celebration of Saturnalia back there was they would close all the courthouses. And when he said, let's purge, remember the movie Purge, that everything was legal. They were purging back then. See, this movie was depicted or based off of this premise. So they don't just come up with these wild, fanciful ideas without having some type of backstory. So this movie, The Purge, is basically based off of this premise of what they used to do during Saturnalia. So for a 7-day period, all crime was legal. Anything you could think of, you could do it. Orgies, rape, murder, whatever you can contemplate in your mind, you could do it because you were purging yourself from the wickedness, the evilness. So, but with the Lord of Misrule, what they would do is at the conclusion of the Saturnalia observance, they would kill the Lord of Misrule, believing that they were removing the evil from amongst them. So they, like I said, they just did a superficial glossing over it just to give you a general idea. But those were important key words that they said, key things that they said that they didn't take a deep dive in. I just wanted to take you and give you understanding that at the conclusion, they killed that guy, the Lord of Misrule. They killed him at the conclusion, believing that they were removing the evil from amongst them. So let's get into why you all now, or how is it that you all now celebrate this day, gathering around this tree, opening up these presents with your family and doing all this stuff, even though you know the pagan origins. It all started here on the plantation. Of course, a lot of you will say, oh, see there, you're going to blame it on the white man. Listen, it all started on the plantation. This man here, his name is Booker T. Washington. He wrote that book, Up From Slavery. Booker T. Washington was a former slave. He actually was born on a plantation. He grew up, I think, 9 or 10. Slavery was abolished. And Booker T. Washington told about a 7-day observance that they did on the plantation, i.e. Christmas. A 7-day observance when a Yule log would be burnt. So as long as that Yule log, remember the cartoon when they said that the Northerners were cutting down this tree and burning Yule logs. This was a part of the tradition, Christian tradition initially, that was assimilated because those pagans up north was doing a different type of thing. So they assimilated that. So that tradition continued when it came here to the States. So they burnt the Yule log for 7 days, or however long the Yule log burnt is when they observed the length of the observance. So on the plantation, what would occur, that Booker T. Washington explains in his book Up From Slavery, that for however long the Yule log burnt, or for a 7-day period, that the slaves were able to rest because of this observance. They didn't have to do any work, any labor. The master of the plantation actually would encourage them to do stupid stuff, foot races, get drunk, just like the early Saturnalia thing. So entertain all forms of debauchery, fight, do all kind of stuff. This is what the slave owner encouraged them to do. And once again, if you read the book, Booker T. Washington explains it. He also explains after slavery was abolished that when he came back, because he left, when got very educated, went to college, all those particular things, he said when he came back to, I think it was Alabama, I'm not sure, I can't remember, you can pick up the book, read it, Alabama or Tennessee, one or two. But anyway, once he came back, he said the first thing that he noticed, one of the first things that he noticed is that in December, for those 7 days, that these people, these ex-slaves were still resting. They were still observing this thing, even though they did not have any idea why they were doing it. He said in his book, he said they had no idea that it was supposed to represent the nativity. So they just knew that every year at the same time, it was ingrained in them. They were programmed that every year at this same time, they knew to rest for 7 days. And he said that they had no idea why they did it. But how did it land in your homes? Once again, things are passed down generationally. Once they left the plantation, they continued to do this thing. They pass it to their children, and their children, and their children, and theirs, and so on and so forth. So I know you want to believe that it's about this, and that this is what it represents, and all this stuff. Originally, when it started getting passed down, you had no idea what it represented. You had no idea it was supposed to represent this, but you were just observing it because it was ingrained in you. Once you left the plantation, you continued to act out in regard to what was ingrained in you. It was instilled in you to do this. So your grandparents passed it down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Plus, you wouldn't have knew back then because none of you knew how to read. So anyway, and I know that a lot of you want to say that it represented this, but it doesn't. So no matter how you try to dress it up and gloss it over and say that it's for the children, we do it for the children now. And we do it because Christ was born on this day. You just heard the video. You just heard the video, what this day is to represent, what it means. It has nothing to do with the nativity. It has nothing to do with the children. You can say all you want, oh, we do it for the children. Absolutely, you don't. You do it for this reason. It represents Saturnalia. No matter how you gloss it over, no matter how you try to dress it up, no matter how you try to change the theme and the narrative, put Christ back into Christmas and all that, he never was in Christmas in the first place, as they just showed you. These things were done to observe certain traditions that were of pagan origin. They just explained it to you. They just explained it to you. But once again, you'll go back and say, no, it's about the kids. It's about the kids and it's about Christ. I don't care what you say. It's about the kids and about Christ. That is what is really amazing to me about us. We've been indoctrinated with something and we refuse to let it go. We'll take it and try to give it a shiny veneer and dress it up and say, hey man, it's about the kids. Well, let me ask you a question. Who will you put first? Will you put your God first, or are you going to put your children first? Because your God says in 1 Corinthians 10 and 14, wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. You're idol worshiping. You're worshiping Saturnalia. You're worshiping, this is what you're worshiping. I don't care how you try to dress it up. I don't care how you try to change it. You are idol worshiping on this day, period. Period. And I ain't even going to get into the Christmas tree. Maybe another brother or sister will put something out about the Christmas tree. I don't even want to take a deep dive into that. I just want to do Saturnalia because, see, there's so many layers with this Christmas thing that was adopted as Christmas continued to evolve, the Puritans wouldn't even observe it. They said, man, it's debauchery. We understand the origins of it. They wouldn't even observe it. They made it illegal when they came over here. 1 John 5:21. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. Amen. But see, here's the thing. Y'all turn around and say, it's about the kids. It's about the kids. So let me understand this. Your God says, stay away from idols. But you take idolatry, dress it up, you take that pig, put lipstick on it, flour in his hair, put some pearls on it, and say, see, it's for the kids. That's what Christmas is right there. You just put some Christmas trees, some lights, made it look pretty, but it's still a big, fat, nasty abomination. That's what it is right there. It's a pagan observance that y'all took, polished up, and put some lipstick on it and said, see, it's for the kids. No, it's not. It's about that. It has nothing to do with Christ. It has nothing to do with the nativity. It has nothing at all to do with the nurturing of children. But since you decide to worship this, and you pushing your kids in that same direction of idol worship, that's where you'll meet them at. That's where y'all all meet at. So after you get done ripping up in those gifts today and decorating the tree and dancing around and going to church and screaming, amen, and oh, this is the day that Christ was born. That's where you're going. And that's where you're taking your children. Generationally, man. Generationally. But information is key. Information is power. But information is just information if you don't act out on it. If I give you some knowledge and you don't act out on that knowledge, it's just information. I apologize. Let me fix that. That's what it is, man. It's about Saturnalia, and this is what this day represents. So while you're down there ripping up them presents and saying it's about the kids and it's about the nativity, that good white man just told you what it was about. Its origins, its roots, its derivative, how you ended up worshiping it, and how it ended up in your home. So that's your present on Saturnalia Day. Enjoy your day of idol worship. Now, as I always say, man, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hebron Ben Bilal just gave you some information on those Backyard Chronicles again. I am here to increase the wisdom of the wise. And if you do not know how to think, man, I just gave you a wholesale opinion, man. Have a happy Saturnalia Day. And there you go.